Over the last few years, rice consumption in Kenya has been slowly stamping its authority on the Kenyan dinner tables, threatening the monopoly held by maize and ugali. But despite this growing demand for rice in the country, there has been a steep decline in rice consumption in Kenya, which in turn has led to an increase in the retail prices of 38%, piling pressure on households that are already grappling with the high cost of living in a sluggish economy. Kenya produces a paltry 200,000 tons of rice, far below the national demand of over 450,000 tons per year. The gap is bridged by huge imports, mainly from Pakistan, Thailand, India, and Vietnam.
Currently in Africa, we are consuming about 26 million metric tons of rice. And out of this, we are producing only about 14 million metric tons. So which shows there's a deficit of 12 million metric tons, which we import every year from either Pakistan, from Thailand, and from other parts of the world. And that amounts, looking at the conservative price of rice, that amounts to about more than 5 billion USD per annum in Africa. When we narrow down to Kenya, in Kenya is just producing only 25% of the rice they consume, which shows 75% of the rice consumed in Kenya is being imported. We are talking of over 400,000 tons of rice is being imported to Kenya every year for consumption. That's a very big market. If we can, and we have a potential to be able to produce that. So if we can really have good yield and we explore the ability to produce it under rain-fed rather than producing under irrigated, and that's why when we're developing this material, we develop material that can do well under rain-fed condition that does not necessarily to be planted inside water. That is why you have the scheme like Moya, because you need a lot of water. But now we have, among these hybrids, we have the one that can grow under rain condition, and they are highly maturing. So which shows on your piece of land where you can plant your maize, you can also plant your rice, and that will help to increase the amount of rice that is produced in Kenya.
In other sub-Saharan African countries, rice consumption is also increasing at about 8% a year. However, the increase in yields per year is less than 6%, and in some cases, it is decreasing.
One of the biggest challenges of hybrid rice in Africa is that we have no capacity. And that is why when we started working on this technology, one of the strongest part of it is to build capacity of people that will be interested in this technology. Currently, there are 4 companies that have sent their staff to us in Malindi, which they are under training. And that's part of the capacity we are developing, so that by the time this technology is fully developed, these are going to be the ones that are going to continue with it. Because in agriculture, there's a need for continuous breeding and commercialization because of the issue of climate change, because of the evolution of disease and all this rest. So if you really want to combat those things, there must be continuity in breeding. And because it looks funky, it looks interesting, you have a lot of young guys that are interested to be involved in it. It shows it as future. When you have young people involved in a particular thing, it shows that as a future. So, and it's creating job for younger generations.
The consumption of rice is very high in Nigeria. Though, as at last week, we understood that Nigeria has increased its productions in the rice productions for the consumptions, even above all other Africa. But seeing this hybrid rice feed today is another challenges that each Africa has to adopt.
Consumption in East Africa is also going up, especially in Tanzania, and probably relates to a significant expansion of the area planted under rice, and to some degree, the yields, which have gone up about 1.2% per year, the most in East Africa. According to the United Nations Food and Agricultural Organization FAO, there has also been a dramatic increase in the total rice imports for East and Southern Africa.
Nimeona kazi kubwa ambayo inafanywa ya utafiti kutafuta mbegu bora za hybrid. Nimeona vile ambavyo wanafanya ile selection. Nimeona jinsi ambavyo wanafanya tuseme ile kazi ya breeding work inavyofanyika mpaka kupata variety ambazo zinazaa vizuri zaidi kuliko zile ambazo zimezoeleka.
Not much work has been done on the development of rice hybrids for Kenya and Africa, where there are a number of factors limiting rice production in East Africa. Improved genetic potential through hybridity is a big opportunity for impact, and coupled with a rigorous seed quality mechanism, the prospect of creating a viable local hybrid rice agribusiness is a tremendous potential and value.
Well, we have been able to show in farmer demonstrations, for example, that and in testing and in farmer demos, that farmers are going to get up to 5 tons per hectare more yield. Now, that's about 32 bags per acre more per season. We did this in Mwea, the seed company, demoed these in Mwea. Pishori was getting 32 bags, per, 24 bags, 24 bags per acre. The hybrids were getting 52 bags. So, this is about 7 tons per hectare, which is worth about $700 or 700,000 shillings per ton. So you can see that there's a huge advantage to farmers in terms of what hybrids can do for them. Now, of course, Pishori's aromatics are worth more per ton, but if you take a standard variety like might be grown in Ahero, you might get 3 tons of extra yield at 40,000 shillings a ton. So it makes a real difference. It doubles or triples net incomes for farm families.
In front of us here we have small scale seed production, whereby this year we are expecting 61 hybrids. That's an expectation we have. And out of these 61 hybrids, we have 12 females that we are testing, and we have 11 males that we are using to expect 61 hybrids.
Despite this lack of a well-developed program for rice development in the country by the government, does not mean that nothing is not being done. The African Agricultural Technology Foundation AATF has been working with partners to develop hybrid rice for Kenya with significant yield advantage.
This is a technology we are developing in Africa by Africans for Africa. And we realize a lot of hybrid has been done in Africa. A number of hybrid have been done in Africa, but they are not indigenous, and as a result of that, they are not well adapted to the environment of Africa. So this technology is being developed here in Kenya, to be precise in Malindi, by African Agricultural Technology Foundation and Hybrid East Africa Limited in collaboration with Aware Incorporated. Now we are developing the hybrid rice, which is going to be indigenous, well adapted to the kind of disease and the kind of climate we have in Africa, and will be useful to improve the yield per hectare which our farmers are getting on their field. And also, because it's an hybrid, it's going to give an incentive for private seed sector to invest in it.
We have been producing hybrids. Like last year, we produced, not last year, but the other year we had 130 hybrids, which we tested multi-locationally. And then we were able to take some hybrids to national performance trials that are 15 in number, and we were able to register 5 hybrids. This year we are in the, as you can see in the field, we have different projects. Behind me we have a harvest time project, whereby we want to determine if we harvest at a certain time, what quality are we expecting? If we harvest at a certain another time, what are we expecting in terms of quality? Is it breaking a rot? Is it having high chalk?
The goal of the hybrid rice breeding by design project is to improve food security and rural livelihood among smallholder rice producers, not just in Kenya, but for the entire African continent by developing hybrid rice with significant yield advantage and creating sustainable hybrid rice. Agribusiness to support rice farming in East, West, and Southern Africa by determining precise relationship between yields, environment, and genetics.
Yeah, a lot of us know the pishori, and the pishori is of a very good aroma. Today, there are not too many of the true to type pishori again in market. That is, there a lot of pishori are a mixture of other things. But now, among the rice that we have developed, there are a number of them that even have a stronger aroma than pishori. And the grain quality is as good as the quality of rice that people demand from Pakistan. Long, slender grain. So we have taken all this into consideration in making our choice of material that we are going to release. One thing I want us to know is that the market of rice is segmented, and it depends on which area you are producing for that will determine the kind of rice you have. Here in Kenya, what we prefer is long, slender, aromatic rice, and we have a number of hybrids that are in that line.
After getting the 61 hybrids, we'll taking them to multi-locational trials with our best performing hybrids. We want to compete with them. If we have 2 to 3 hybrids that overdo the previous hybrids, then we take them to the national performance trial. Then we do the trial whereby we normally do client managed. We manage ourselves jointly with KVs, and then if we get 2 to 3 again, or 2 hybrids that performs the previous national performance trial, then we list those 2 hybrids.